After 5 KVKs and 4 wins, I've learnt so much about this game. Mistakes have been made and learned from, and today I want to pass on these lessons to you. We'll take it in chronological order, but since I don't have any footage of the vast majority of this, I'll treat you to some exclusive footage of my Zone 5 that basically just ended, stats video coming out next. So, without further ado, let's get into the story of my account and the lessons I have learned from it. Hope you enjoy, be sure to drop a like down below if you enjoy the video, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. So, here's the video. Even before KVK 1, I migrated my account 3 times, bouncing through 3804, 3816 and 3805 for KVK 1. Not having a solid home for so long led to quite an inconsistent growth in the account, and not spending very much at all, probably less than $10 before KVK 1, meant that I ended up fighting KVK 1 at a measly 12 million power. This leads me to the first mistake. I didn't join a group from day 1. We see so many restart groups out there now that there is no excuse if you are starting an account to not start one in Rise of Kingdoms. You'll get much more experienced leadership and a solid group of people around you. Community is incredibly important in this game, and finding one early is incredibly important. I still keep in touch with people from my KVK 1 days in 05. Shout out to you guys, you know who you are. The second mistake came during KVK 1. I've always loved running more marches, so KVK 1 I ran 3. Now, I've already mentioned that I barely spent anything on my account up to this point, so it was not the right choice to run all these marches. I should have stuck to one. The marches I ran were Sun Tzu Ethelbled, Belisarius Bybars, and Kusunoki with Kira, and all had blue and green gear with a little purple. Because of this, I basically never traded well. The lesson here is to not run more marches than you can properly equip with good gear. I'll link my equipment guide here in the cards up here. There is one more mistake I'd like to talk about for KVK 1. KVK 1 was the last KVK I ever lost, and this one isn't one that I personally made, but one that the Kingdom made, and it lost us the KVK. On the opening of Kingsland, we had to split up our forces very thin to fight both 3808 and 3806, and this led to our 06 side getting pushed. It all came to fruition when we popped Unbridled Progress, cancelling out the Skillful Craftsman Alliance skill. So this lesson is twofold. Firstly, make sure you don't split your forces too thin if you can, and make sure you don't pop multiple alliance skills at once. It really sucks. Now, to give you the story of my KVK 1. Kingdom 3805 won KVK really easily, and we thought we'd be able to win this KVK as well. We took a 1v3 against 3806, the next strongest kingdom, 3808, which was a relatively strong kingdom, and 3807, which basically never left their starting zone. Now 3806 was incredibly strong, about the same as us. We very much underestimated them, and this led to us losing our Zone 6 due to inactivity. Previously to this, we've been pretty much equal with the Altar wins. We won some, they won some. But when it came to Kingsland, we completely folded. We had not enough activity in our main alliance. I was fighting in our second alliance at the time, and we were able to hold off 3808 relatively effectively, but the main alliance just couldn't hold off 3806. And this led to them getting pushed back, especially once they popped the wrong skill and couldn't get the flag line in place, leading to us losing that KVK. Now we move on to the first of my 2 KVK2s, for which I migrated to 3815. At this point, I had started spending at somewhere between a low to mid spender level, and I'll link my spending guide in the cards up above for you to watch after this one. I dropped down to 2 marches, fully equipped in purple and gold equipment, much better. I was running strong meta commanders. I ran CJ with Alex and Minna with Bybars. No problems, right? The problem comes when you look at what I was working on the side. Instead of fully investing into these pairings, I did put sculptures into YSG. This was fine in the long term, but my performance in this KVK, it was not the best decision. And if it was an investment into someone like Martel, who would not work later on, this would have been a much bigger problem. The lesson here is to not invest into commanders that you aren't going to run, and you're wasting valuable gold heads. Now, for this KVK2, we again were fighting with 06, but this time we were allied with them. The allies were 3815 and 3806 against 3801, along with the other 5 kingdoms sprinkled in there to make it fair. So the majority of this fighting was in Zone 6, as it usually is in KVK2s. Zone 5 was basically non-existent. In Zone 6, we were fighting straight up against 3801, and it was a pretty strong stalemate for most of the time, until 3806 came in, and we absolutely thrashed them. We were able to push them back to the pass within basically half a day of 3806 arriving in the zone, and it was an incredibly good KVK. That one was good fun, But unfortunately, after I migrated out, the kingdom got sold and the entire thing collapsed. So, another mistake. Don't sell your kingdom. So repeat KVK 2, I migrated just after we won the previous KVK during Zone 6, but before I got the rewards. Again, I migrated with the group, this time to Kingdom 3842. This is the kingdom where I spent most of my time fighting 3 KVKs here. For this KVK 2, I didn't invest into commands I wouldn't run. I didn't run too many marches, so what was my mistake this time? My mistake was when I chose to push for T5 troops. I pushed it during the Gathering of Heroes event, which was a good idea. What wasn't my priorities. I wasn't even VIP 14 yet, so I wasn't getting the maximum gold heads per day. This is far more important than T5, as the commands you run, as we discussed earlier, are more important than whether you run T4 or T5 troops. Link to my commander investment guide in the cards above. The lesson here is that you should be prioritizing VIP over T5 troops. I would recommend VIP 15 because you get a bonus to research, building and training speed. This is everything you need to make your T5 push cheaper than mine was. The second KVK2 I played was a very similar picture, all the fighting in Zone 6. The allies were 3842 and 3834 against 3835 and 3840. Again, with the other 4 kingdoms scattered in there to make it fair. So, this KVK was very hard fought. 3835 were our main opponents, and we fought them for quite a long time in our Zone 6, but once they made a slight slip up by trying to defend somewhere else, we were able to burn all of their territory in the Zone 6 that we were fighting in. And then we hopped across to the other side, helped 3834 out, and were able to push 3835 right out of Zone 6 and win that KVK. Now if you're going into KVK 3, you'll probably have a much better experience than I did. This is because they removed Light vs Darkness story, a great decision, and replaced it with King of All Britain, another great decision. This KVK was an easy win for Kingdom 3842, as Kingsland was over within 8 hours. Now, what was my mistake in this KVK? I ran 3 marches again, the gear was good, the commands were meta. However, I had not expertised my commanders. There are very few commanders that can be run that aren't maxed. But when I was trying to run 5551 Gang with a 5551 Achilles, I was not trading very well. The lesson here is simple. If you can't max it, don't run it. There are very few exceptions, notably Ivar and David at 5511 if you're running lots of marches of one troop type, but don't run most commands without their expertise. Now, KVK 3 is a pretty boring KVK when it's Light versus Darkness. Now, it was a 4v4, it definitely should have been. 3842 was incredibly strong at this point, not even in their prime. So we were basically dodged for the entire KVK. They didn't fight us in any of the altars, and that's the only fighting you get up until Kingsland in this KVK format. Once we got to Kingsland, we were able to push them out basically within 8 hours. One of their allies got pushed out within 4 hours by one of our allies. Our other ally, one of the weaker camps in our alliances, were able to hold off their strongest camp. They basically didn't even fight. It was a pretty easy KVK win, and not one to remember really. Quite a boring KVK to be fair. My 5th and most recent completed KVK, as well as my final one in Kingdom 3842. This was an insane KVK where we took a 1v3 and still prevailed, giving me my first autarch. So, what was the mistake this time? The mistake was about efficiency. I'm entering my current KVK with roughly 200,000 AP, which is not enough. This is because I 5-march killed barbarians instead of chaining, which resulted in less crystals for my AP and less AP to spend in this KVK. Chaining is incredibly worth it if you can put in the time, and I think I'll link my guide in the card up above. So now we come on to my KVK 4. This one was an incredibly fun KVK, the best KVK I've ever had to be fair, my record performance. So it was a 1v3. We won both Zone 5s in 4 hours. Even though we split our forces, it was a pretty good one. We won basically all the altars, we held both past 7s, we burnt their forts completely on one side, and then Kingsland came. It was a bad opening, we struggled quite a lot with the opening, but we were able to stabilize, hold the territory through their downtime and able to push them back, leading to a very good KVK win. As a 1v3, that was really impressive, and Super Cow and his Kraken accounts just cheeseburgered like the Kraken deadweights they are. So there we go. So that was my journey and the lessons I learned on this account, and I hope you got value from this. I'm entering my 6th KVK now, as we just fought in Zone 5. Drop a subscribe if you want to see more about my KVK and more tips for your account, and like the video if you enjoyed it. It's completely free and really helps me out. I do truly appreciate it, and I'll reply to all your comments and questions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.